Do you own or lead a private company and ever wonder what D&O insurance is all about, and if you really need it? If so, then this video is for you. I'm going to break it down for you and answer your questions. Thanks for watching. Before I get into it, show me some love and click that like button. I'd really appreciate the support. It helps me gain traction in YouTube, and it only takes a second. All right, so you own, manage, or lead a private company, and you've either heard about D&O insurance or you have a concern about being sued personally for your acts as a company leader. And maybe you've tried to do some research and you're just not getting it. I understand. D&O insurance is difficult to understand and grasp for a lot of leaders of privately held firms. So let me try and explain it. And please, if this video doesn't answer all your questions specifically, don't hesitate to set up a call with me so we can get more granular around your questions. All right, so let's start off with why public companies pretty much all purchase D&O insurance. Then we're going to drop down into the private company market. The top reasons that public companies are buying D&O is that their directors will not sit on their boards unless there's top quality D&O insurance in place. Those folks know that they can be sued personally for a multitude of issues that can arise in a public company. Things like stock price fluctuations, missing stated corporate objectives or targets, or worse, bankruptcy. In the public company marketplace, security actions are the biggest threats to boards, leaders, and other decision makers. But you own or run a private company and you don't have a public securities issue. So what are the threats that you face? Threats to private companies and their leaders include lawsuits by regulators, customers, vendors, competitors, your own business partners, investors, and shareholders. Another huge threat to private firms comes from employees, and while most employee lawsuits revolve around wrongful employment acts such as discrimination or wrongful termination, these are technically not covered by a D&O policy. Instead, they are covered by an employment practice liability policy, or EPLI policy for short. Many firms will purchase EPLI as part of a management liability policy that includes D&O insurance as well as fiduciary liability insurance. You can see more about those policy forms here and here. Now, to gain a better understanding of what's covered under a D&O policy, here are a few examples of lawsuits leveled against private companies that would be covered by a D&O policy. The first one is breach of duty. Here, disgruntled shareholders of a tech startup filed a suit against directors and officers of the firm for misconduct and breach of duty. Allegations included embezzlement, coercion, conspiracy, and more. Defense costs alone in this case exceeded $300,000. Second is a creditor suit. Unsecured creditors to a private firm allege that directors depleted the company's assets by paying excessive compensation to company leadership before selling off the company, and insurance proceeds paid out over $1 million on this claim. Third example are misleading statements. Investors to a startup allege that the company raised funds in a private placement based on a PPM which contained unaudited financial statements that were materially misleading. Defense costs and settlements in this case exceeded $500,000. Competitor dispute, employee poaching is number 4. The plaintiff in this situation filed a complaint against a competitor alleging that it poached several key employees from their firm and then stole confidential and proprietary information in violation of confidentiality and non-compete agreements. Other claims made in this lawsuit included unfair competition, breach of contract, misappropriation of trade secrets, and irreparable harm. Total defense and settlement costs in this case were over $450,000. Now, I could go on and on with claim examples, but the point is that private companies do face threats from outsiders that imperil decision makers and their personal assets. Now, a question I get a lot is, why isn't this kind of risk covered by my company's general liability or umbrella policies? And that's a good question. The big difference between general liability and D&O liability is that general liability insurance covers claims which arise from bodily injury, property damage, or personal injury, which are things like libel, slander, and defamation. D&O policies, on the other hand, exclude loss from bodily injury and property damage and cover claims from wrongful acts which result in a third party suffering a financial harm. As you can see, these two types of claims are very different, and the reason why there are two separate policies needed. The D&O policy focuses on wrongful acts and not on bodily injury or property damage, the traditional risks we think of when we think of liability insurance. So, back to the question of whether you really need D&O insurance or not. A recent survey by the insurance company Chubb found that 26% of private companies reported experiencing a D&O related loss in the past 3 years, and that the average loss was around $400,000. So you can see that the frequency of claims as well as the severity of the cost of these claims is pretty significant. Here's the bottom line. You may think you run a family business or a private enterprise that no one would ever sue, but the evidence is clear that these are exactly the types of firms that do get sued for wrongful acts by company leaders. Claims do happen and they're expensive to mitigate. And because your standard business policies don't cover these allegations that arise from these types of claims, you need specialized coverage. Want to learn more? Let's connect and discuss your options. Thanks for watching this video. My name is Gordon Coyle, and if you're looking for help on D&O insurance or for any other form of business insurance, give me a call and let's chat. I promise, no pressure, no sales gimmicks, just some conversation to see if I can help you and if we might be a good fit for your business insurance needs. My contact info is coming up, and there's a link in the description box below to book a call directly on my calendar. Thanks for watching, and again, click that like button. Really need your help. Thanks.